Growing up, when was the first time that you laid eyes on Flex magazine?
Well, 12 years old, I see my first actual book on bodybuilding, and that was Tom Platt's encyclopedia. Soon after that, I discovered Arnold Schwarzenegger's encyclopedia, and then the whole world of bodybuilding opened up for me. So each and every month, I remember going to the local village store and checking in every weekend to see if the Flex magazine had come and been delivered. So it soon became a collection of Flex magazines in my house. And needless to say, I was brought up around some of the old school greats. And now not I only the champion of my division, but I'm still the fan I very much was when I was 12, 13, 14 years old, picking up my very first Flex magazines.
Okay, so I understand that former editor Peter McGuff tried to talk you out of moving to America to become a pro bodybuilder. Do you want to talk about that?
Well, Peter McGuff and myself have been friends for now, my goodness, the whole duration of my career. So this is a joke that we've had. And I remember the actual conversation, it was actually after the Flex magazine shoot, my very first Flex magazine shoot. And him and I met up in Venice Beach, and being a fellow Brit, his concerns were moving across to the States. He wanted me to stay in the UK and further my career a little bit more before making the plunge to America. Having seen so many athletes take that leap, not make it, and then go back home with their tails between their legs. So I did assure Peter that that was not going to be the case. I know 11 years later, myself and Peter have a good laugh about that occasion. So needless to say, it's a story we both like to talk about, and will never get old.
Tell us about the time that you first got the call to shoot with Flex magazine. Who shot you and where?
I had the call when I was actually shopping in Ralph's, believe it or not, and it was from Peter McGuff. And not only did they offer me a Weider contract, but they offered me the first ever shoot. So needless to say, I give out a big yell in the middle of the store, and another story that myself and Peter like to talk about and laugh about is that occasion. So I think it was another crazy man in the middle of California shouting in the middle of a shopping store that actually nobody turned a blind eye to. So that was the actual occasion, and that was the time that I was offered my first ever contract with Weider.
What did it mean to you to meet Joe Weider for the first time and to sign with Flex magazine?
Well, a couple of days after having the call, I went up to the office, and a lot of the staff didn't know that Joe was there. Now, Joe at the time had just had back surgery, and he was one of these guys who did not like to stay away from the office. So he sneaked himself in, and they were actually giving me a tour of the whole building. And we went into Joe's office, and Joe was there. So surprisingly for me, and again it was unannounced, Joe tried to stand up, and with very little aid from his people around him, he wanted to get up and shake my hand. And it just goes to show the willingness and the power this man had. He got up out of his chair, came over to me, and like embraced me, congratulated me. A very, very surreal moment in my life. Very surreal, again, because it was unannounced. It was a shock for me, and something that will always remain with me for the rest of my career. The man was very, very empowering, and to shake his hand and to get his well wishes on that day was certainly a kick to my step for me taking my career in a whole new direction.
So tell us about your first ever Flex magazine cover.
My first ever photo shoot was in Milos Sarcev's gym in California, and it was shot by the Chris Lund. And Chris Lund, of course, is synonymous with Flex magazine. He's renowned for doing the most hardcore photo shoots. So for me to walk into that element and never see a shoot of his before, to walk in and see all the lights and the camera and all the staff he has working for him, certainly, shocked me. And again, it was not the kind of words, it was very surreal. So to then, as an amateur at the time, know what to expect as a professional, and that's turn up in shape, get worked hard, but have some of the best photos ever, certainly then allowed me then to pre-plan a lot more things in future photo shoots. But I was very, very happy with the outcome of my first ever photo shoot.
What does it mean to you to be a Weider AMI athlete, flying the flag as an Olympia champion?
To me, there's no higher honor. You know, Joe Weider obviously set up this sport. To me, he's the godfather. So then to have him and represent his name as my sponsor is no higher honor.
This is 50 years of bodybuilding history. How do you intend to make your mark on this historical event while attempting to win the Olympia 212 showdown for the third consecutive year?
Well, with the passing of Ben and the passing of Joe, this year's Olympia is going to be very different. For the first time, we're not going to see any of them gentlemen backstage, and they are the name behind the Mr. Olympia. Not only am I up on that stage to create a legacy, but to get the three-peat victory, but to continue my legacy in this bodybuilding world. You know, Joe and Ben set their legacy, and now the empire they created is continuing. For me, my legacy's just begun, and I've got goals, short-term and long-term. And, you know, I'm very excited. I'm very much thrilled, honoured, and a mixture of emotions to be a part of this 50th anniversary of Joe Weider's Mr. Olympia.